Hello, everybody, and welcome back to this bonus session from the Goal Greatness Challenge. So I hope the past couple of days have been valuable and worthy for you. I hope you actually had taken the time to work through your goals, synthesize them into something that feels like it's tangible to you, and really prioritize the top 3 to 5, create a little bit of that micro vision board, and then set the course to actually achieving them. Today is a great day to actually seize control of your calendar and, put those time management resources into place and really utilize them to their full advantage so that you gain control of your calendar versus your calendar gaining control of us. I truly believe that is one of the key factors for success. Anyhow, enough about that. I promised a bit of a bonus for today. And so I'm going to share my screen, and hopefully as you guys are sitting there, you will have received this rather bizarre email today. And this bizarre email today is actually an airline ticket. So if you haven't received it, then just sort of check your spam folder maybe, or check your inbox, because part of the bonus today is that we are going to go on a journey. Now, admittedly, this is going to be a little bit of a, metaphorical journey, because truth is, we're not all gajillionaires and can't just decide at the drop of a hat that we are going to hop on a plane and fly away. But if it was a perfect world, that is in fact what I would have us do. Let me provide you with a little bit of context. When I first created the Life Blueprint process, which the Goal Greatness Challenge is actually part of that, I created this process because I didn't feel like there was one entire self-help or structure or strategy for figuring out our life. I bought all the books, I've taken all the courses, I've done all the things that you're supposed to do to try and figure out life. And there's tons of resources out there. You guys all know that. But there wasn't kind of like a roadmap or a blueprint that literally helped us kind of holistically put together a bit of a plan for ourselves. We have it in the corporate world, and we rely on it aggressively in the corporate world in order to create amazing, sustainable businesses. And yet, for whatever reason, it doesn't exist for us in a nice, fluid state in our personal lives. So what I did is I took the corporate structure that, in fairness, had allowed me to be really successful in my business life, and I re-engineered it for our personal lives. And in that re-engineering process, that is where we came up with, or where I came up with the Life Blueprint process. And that's where I took you through an element of that when we actually went through the Goals Challenge. So let me share with you what that whole process is. And then today I'll take you on that metaphorical journey. So when we do the entire process, we start off very similar to the way that you started off, with taking stock. And my hope is that now, after you have actually gone through the sessions with me, that you go back and you take stock once again. That's not something that we closed off discussing. It was kind of something I was saving for the bonus. But what I'd really like you to do is, now that you've gone through all your goals and laid out everything, is to go back and take stock again. And how do you feel now about everything? And how do you feel about the trajectory that you've set yourself? And perhaps use that as an opportunity to make sure that, one, everything is holistically aligned, and two, that you have priorities across all of the parameters that are consistent with your goals, so that you go forward feeling like you have a really solid, integrated, holistic plan. So that's why groundwork and taking stock is so important. Then the next step in the process is actually to dream big and think of, what is your vision for yourself for the future? And we're talking, beyond the next year, but in the next 3, 5, and even 10 years. Where do you see yourself living? Where do you see yourself working, or the kind of work that you're doing? Do you have a partner? Do you have a family? Are you living in a home out in the woods? Are you living in a condo in a downtown core? What does your life look like, and what would you like it to look like? And that's where you really take that opportunity to dream to the next level. Then the next conversation really talks about legacy. And legacy is all about impact, and the impact that we want to leave when we are no longer here. What are the the breaths that we want to take away versus the breaths that we want to take. That's kind of a cliche, but you get where I'm going with that. The next step is we talk about values, because often values are something that we talk about in generality, but the truth is, until we start to peel back the layers, we don't actually realize how important our values are in our lives. They are the fundamental cornerstone for every decision that we make, and really understanding the definition of our own personal definition of our values. So, many of us could use the same language when we're describing a value, but the truth is it's actually not about that language. It's about your language. And is your language consistent with someone you'd like to partner with personally or professionally? And making sure there's alignment there is actually the most critical piece, because as I said, we can all use the same words, but they can have different context, different motivation, different value to them for each of us. The next piece is the mission piece, which is our mission and purpose. And that's, what is the work that we want to do every day? How do we want to show up? What is it that will motivate us to get up and get inspired and head into our day, doing the work that really makes us feel as if we are making a difference in our lives and in the lives of others? And or if we're not doing that kind of work, how can we reframe that work so that we feel positive and motivated, inspired as we head off into our day? The next piece is, of course, is what you've just gone through, which is goals and actions. And often that is one of the starting points where people talk to me and seek out my assistance, because they're trying to figure out, how are they actually going to make their goals happen, and balancing their goals with their bigger dreams and with their todays and with their to-do lists and all of those things. So we sort of started, in fairness, almost at the end of the process, but we started there because so many people really want to do a deep dive on goals. And it's a good, comfortable place for many people to sort of get a sense as to how this bigger process would work. And then the last part we talk about is staying the course versus straying the course. And I provide everybody with some tips and tricks and tools so that they feel super confident that they can, in fact, stay on track when they fall off the wagon or get pulled aside because of an amazing opportunity or because of a challenge. So that's what the total blueprint process takes you through. Today, I'm going to give you a little bit of a bonus and take you through one of them. I mean, admittedly, we've gone through the goals, and I do another similar and I would say deeper dive even in the blueprint process. But today we're going to talk about mission and purpose. And the reason that we're going to do that is that is, in fact, the number one reason that people reach out to me, is that they actually want to figure out or understand or dig deeper into their mission and purpose, and they grapple with how to do that. And so that was why I sent you the airplane ticket. So, admittedly, it's a little bit tongue in cheek because we can't all hop on the plane. But if we could hop on a plane, let me tell you where I'd take you. We would get on the plane and we would go to one of the blue zones in the world. When blue zones were first discovered, there was really only 2 or 3 of them. Now at this stage, we're up to 6 or 7, and more are coming alive every single day because there has been a lot of work done on trying to understand the DNA of a blue zone. So let me share with you a little bit about it. Blue zones are centers in the world, so where people live, and there is the highest percentage of octogenarians. So that means people over the age of 80. In those centers, people live longer, they take far fewer, if any, prescription meds. They are extremely healthy. There's actually hardly any gyms or traditional health and wellness centers. It's all very much based on Eastern medicine practices. And gym is what we do in stride as we are doing our work and going about our day and living healthy lives. There's a greater affinity to walking and just general mobility than there is to using vehicles as an example. The key vehicle that they would use would be a bicycle because, of course, it's good for our body as well as good for the air around us. They often produce their own food, hunt, fish, and gather. It is a very, I want to use the words traditional lifestyle, but I feel like that makes us all kind of go, well, is there hardship in this? There isn't hardship in this because they're living in modern society. What they're doing is they're living very organically and more holistically and less mechanically and conventionally inclined than we are right now. And as a result of that, their health and wellness, both mental and physical, is much, much higher. And as a result of that, everyone wakes up in the morning with a sense of mission and purpose. So the Okinawans specifically, so Okinawa, Japan, was one of the first blue centers that was noted when they found that when they were doing, pilots on trying to understand why were there so many people that were living here, the lowest percentage of medical practitioners, they were living the longest, what was happening here? And so as the research was being done, they found that those who were living in Okinawa, Japan, were just living so fully and fulfilled and at peace every single day. Certainly there were stresses in their lives just because of life, but overall versus the rest of the general population in the world, they were happier and healthier. What they found was at the core of their community was this notion of ikigai. And you may have seen books or even heard of this practice as you have been out and about. The notion of ikigai, when we actually break it out literally, is life and worth. So it talks about our life's worth. And to a larger extent, it talks about really understanding how you contribute to your own life and to the life in the greater society, which for us, in the North American and more Western worlds and more Western thinking is all about our mission and purpose and really understanding that. And so what they did is they tried to create a methodology for explaining that to us so that we could adopt some of their practices and understand how to bring ikigai to life in our lives. And so this was the model that they created. And I'm going to take you through their model, but then I'm also going to show you a simplified version of the model that I've created because this works very well in the Okinawan world. But as we try to import it into some of our lives and some of our context, because the way we live every single day is so different than the way they live, it makes sense for us to sort of adapt this a little bit so that we can connect the dots and see the light and see our mission and purpose a little bit more clearly. What they essentially did is they created 4 key circles. And if I break them apart, and I will actually provide this for you in your worksheets. Hopefully you received it if you look at what you received with your airline ticket. I tried to send them separately because I didn't want to, divulge the whole secret. But there's another addition to your workbook that you will have received today. And what it does is it talks about the convergent circles. And in there, what you do is you start off with the first one and you think about all the things that you love, and you would literally write it out either in this area or outside of the circle, all the things that you love, the things you love to do. Do you love to garden? Do you love to fish? Do you love photography? Do you love architecture and you love drawing buildings and creating blueprints? Do you love coding? Do you love being creative? Do you love being a chef? All the things that you love, you literally write that all down till you have an exhausted list. Then you write down beside it, and separate from it though, all the things that you're good at. Are you good at cooking? Are you good at gardening? Are you good at driving? Are you good at, taking care of plants, creating really interesting food, creating beautiful pictures, writing, whatever it is? What are some things that you are good at? And this will have come as well. Often when I go through the life blueprint process, we actually go through, as part of our groundwork, a deeper dive on some of your accomplishments and some of your strengths. And so I would suggest that you kind of lean into that, lean into what is it that your friends lean on you for? Why when your friends are looking for somebody to help them in a particular area, why do they call you? And so that's probably gives you a good sense as to what you're good at. And then when you go to the next circle, what can you be paid for? So these are, there's a million things that we can be paid for. And often we don't think of all of them. We don't think that, oh, like I'm a good driver, so potentially I could be paid to transport things or drive people or become an Uber driver, whatever it is. I could become a bus driver, truck driver, you name it. I'm a great gardener. So, could I actually create a small farm, or could I sell seedlings or plants or teach other people how to grow things? I'm a great photographer. Could I be a personal photographer, a nature photographer, and sell it as art? Interestingly enough, I know someone who wasn't a photographer but loved taking pictures, and she really honed her craft. And as a result of honing her craft, she took pictures out in nature, and now one of her pictures is one of the pictures that you can buy at IKEA. So there's somebody who just dug deep into something that was a passion, not necessarily even a skill or talent yet. It was a passion and an interest, and she really got good at it, and now it's become self-sustaining for her. The next piece is, what does the world need? And this is where, you take the step back. There's so many things that different people need. And so how can we take a look at what people need and then take a look at some of our offerings and align them? The world needs people who can cook for them. The world needs people who can help them, create gardens and live off of the land, to have beautiful pictures in their homes. So what are some of the things that you do that could actually be of value to the next person out? Think that through, because there's probably more to that than you realize. And then as you start to see the convergence of these circles, this is where the magic happens. It's here where we find the kind of work that we can do, that is work that we love, that is work that we could be paid for, and therefore is work that the world needs. And it's in the connection of all of those points that when you hear someone say they do work that they love, so they don't actually feel like they're going to work every day, they have found that sweet spot that allows them to bring all of those pieces of their puzzle together. So because this, although it's a very valid and a great model to work with, can feel a bit intense, what I did is I actually created it as separate silos and as a chart, because I have found that when people are working through this, what they need to do is see each piece distinct. And then literally what I suggest that they do is then take a step back from it and actually go out for a walk and get some fresh air, come back and take a look at it from kind of an aerial perspective and see how they can connect the dots. So, I've given you guys this as a worksheet. What I would suggest, this is how you would tackle it. You would be true to the column. What do I love to do? And don't even look at the other columns. Have no connection to them, and fill that out and keep going. Just think of everything that you love to do, from sublime to the ridiculous. And I'm going to give you an example in a minute of the sublime to the ridiculous. Then separate from that, I want you to think about all the things that you're good at. What are all the different weird and crazy things that you are good at? And keep the other columns out of your mind. And go on to the next column. What can I be paid for? Write down everything that you think of that you could be paid for. And then the last thing is, what does the world need? And all the things that you think of. And again, you're going to have, versus anyone else who's doing these sheets, you're going to have it come at this from a totally different perspective. You're going to have a totally different lens. And that is great. That is what makes us an interesting society to live in. Then you're going to go for your walk. You're going to come back. You're going to have a tea or a coffee or a glass of water or whatever suits you. And then I want you to literally almost stand above that piece of paper and look down on it and see how things may align in a way that you didn't expect, or in ways that you could potentially connect these dots now from column to column and do the work that you love. So here's my crazy example. I had a student that was taking a course for me as part of becoming a creative director. So I was teaching creative thinking. And she came to me after having done this exercise, because I impose this exercise on all of my students and attach a value to it, because I feel so strongly that if it was a perfect world, everyone would go through the Life Blueprint process. So I had her go through the process. And she went through it and then she put it aside. Then it was at the end of the term and we're taking summer break, and she's trying to figure out what she wants to do for the summer. And she's quite junior. So, she's just looking for junior entry jobs, but she actually finds that there's something happening in the background in her world. And she's going to explore it, but she is checking in with me. So this is what she discovered. And she said, oh my God, it came back to that Ikigai mission course or chat that you took us through. So she was taking the creative course. And at the same time, she loves to game, avid gamer. Every waking moment that she has when she's not working or at school, she's gaming. And obviously, because of that, she said she's quite good at it. So I'm taking her word for it, but she's like, I'm pretty competitive at it, pretty good at it. And I've kind of found my niche. In the process of this, what she also found is that in whatever she's doing in the gaming world, and I'm unfamiliar, so excuse me on this, she'd created an avatar for herself. And her avatar was apparently pretty cool. So it had sounds and bells and whistles and did all these amazing things. And people were starting to note and comment on her avatar. So other gamers were commenting. And a few people asked her if she would make them an avatar. So it dawned on her, oh my God, I actually could be paid for this. So it's something that she loves to do, something that she's good at, now something she could be paid for. And people were asking her. So this was something that other people or the world needed. Like people go into the gaming world for a myriad of reasons, but often to escape and to have some downtime. And so they were willing to pay her for this. And it was a need that they have because they wanted something unique and simple and a symbol of who they were in the gaming world. So throughout of all of this, she decided to put herself out there and to offer to create avatars for people. And in the process of that, she's created a business for herself. So she's now connected all of the dots, and she's so happy because she didn't end up having to go out and get a job that she didn't feel that she was qualified for, although she probably is. So it's given her a lot of confidence doing these avatars. But she's so junior. She was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. She had her part-time job. This was able to augment her part-time job and give her enough financial resources that now she was going to be able to pay her tuition. She was going to be able to do it on her own timelines, on her own, confines of her day, her mobility and everything. She doesn't have access to a car. So getting into a creative hub was going to be challenging for her. So the stars all aligned for her. So this is my point to you. If you had asked her 6 months or a year ago, she would have said, I'm not going to be able to make money doing this. I'm a gamer and I'm taking this creative course so I can make money. And yet she has been able to converge the two and create what she now thinks could become a sustainable long-term income for herself. So that is my crazy example that's really not so crazy. After you go through this exercise, my hope is that what you could do is actually put together a sentence for yourself. This is somewhat akin to the sentence you put together for your goal, but it literally is, my purpose or my mission is to do this, this, and this. This is if you met yourself or you met someone on an elevator and you said to them, this is my mission or purpose. This is what I do every day. This is what I want to do. And initially, when you write this, it could be kind of clunky like your initial goals sentence that you wrote for yourself. But what you will find is that the more that you take a look at this and the more that you practice it, the more you will find that you fine tune this sentence and you're like, oh my God, this is actually what I do. This is my mission and purpose. Now, in fairness to you, your mission and purpose is something that evolves over time. Using my avatar example, today she might be creating avatars. She could go on to evolve this and go into gaming and go into a whole bunch of other things and a whole bunch of other worlds. The world is your oyster, and where you are today is not where you are going to be tomorrow or 2 years from now, 5 years from now, or 10 years from now. What this framework allows you to do is evolve as you evolve. So even your mission and purpose, and I can say this from my own perspective, I'm now in my 50s. My mission and purpose when I was in my 20s was very different than when I was in my 30s, 40s, and now in my 50s. I have to be honest, I couldn't have even created the Life Blueprint process when I was in my 20s or 30s because I hadn't had the life experience or professional experience or wisdom to have actually figured out how all the pieces of the puzzle could come together. That's why now is, for me, the right time in my life for me to spread this word and get it out there, because I now have had that combination of business experience and life experience to share with others and hopefully make the pathway for others easier. And my hope is that through this process, I've actually done that with you. And so I promised you yesterday, as we wrapped up the session, a little bit of a bonus. This is that bonus. And I would invite you, if you want to dive even deeper, to please, connect with me. I shared this slide with you yesterday. Please connect with me. Consider taking the Life Blueprint course and diving deeper. If that is something that is of interest to you, I offer it on a fairly regular basis, live, so you can take it live, and meaning live, physically live in the real world, live on Zoom. So whatever works for you in terms of your availability and location. And then I also offer the course. If you just want to sit down and do it yourself on your own timeline, then you're welcome to do that. So do what suits your fancy. I do want to thank you for your time. I hope this bonus was worthwhile. I hope at some point in your life, we'll actually be able to take that journey to Okinawa, Japan. But in the meantime, I hope you just enjoy the journey that you're creating for yourself. And I wish you all a very amazing day and a very amazing life. Have a good one. Bye, everybody.